Let's go to the front view and let's work in full screen. We're going to create the cross section of half a glass. It's very much easier to do this than it is to explain it. Under Create, the sun, we'll go to the second option, Shapes, and under that we'll select Line. We're going to imagine the main vertical axis in this front view as being the line around which we're going to work. So if we cut a glass in half and then imagine just the cross section, we might see something like this. And I'm going to click back on the original yellow dot and I'm going to close the spline. I'm going to right click to drop the line drawing tool, and we now have some options. I could simply apply my modifier to this, and perhaps that's what I'll do straight away. So we'll come to the modifier section. From the modifier list we'll select Lathe, and things aren't perfect with the first options there. If we go to Min, M-I-N, or Center, Min is the one that I think we're going to use. My glass is much wider than anticipated. There are some easy options to deal with that. Right now, however, this glass in perspective will look somewhat like it's got flat-sided facets. If that's what you're happy with, then we can just leave it. If it's not, then we can change this section here that says segments. And the more segments there are, the more polygons, but also the smoother the glass will look. It looks like it wants to be higher, and it looks like it wants to be perhaps not so wide. What can we do about that? Well, we'll go back to our front view, select our object, and in the modifier list we can see that we have now the start of a modifier stack. We've got Lathe sitting on top of Line. Let's click on Line, and there's our original line. So we can continue to edit and modify our line. If we want to see what the whole thing looks like while we're doing that, we can click on Show End Result, but actually that's not very useful for us right now. So I'm going to right click to convert to an editable spline, and I'm going to start editing the vertices. The top edge should certainly be rounded and smooth, and so we need to select both vertices, right click, and we need to change that to Bezier corners. Now let's come in and have a look a bit more closely at what that result is. Nothing very satisfactory right now, but we can modify these handles with Move to get a much more pleasant curved result. Now we don't want to curve the edge, so we'll leave this fella down there. Something like that. What about the bottom corner here? I think that should also be curved on a glass rather than straight segments, and so we can select as many of these as we wish. Again, right click, Bezier. Now we get some weird distortions because of the inbuilt choices that are made, and we can modify those quite easily just by pulling these little handles around until we get the sort of curve that we're after. That's looking pretty good. This one's looking not so good. I'll fix that up. Over here there's no need to do conversions, but we do need to move that one so it sits on the line. Now remember I said that the whole glass was looking too wide. I can handle that with scale, but I can also handle it by selecting all of those corners and simply moving them. Check the final result. Better, but we need it taller. How will we make it taller? Select those two fellas and just move it straight up. Check the final result, and that's about the look for a glass tumbler. By clicking on Lathe, we're asking to see or work at the highest level, and we'll come back to perspective and just see if it all makes sense. and that's quite a satisfactory result. So the use of the lathe modifier to create cups, glasses, bowls, and quite a lot of other useful things that have this vertical symmetry and rotational symmetry. What about a straw? Well, a straw is quite good fun. What we're going to do is draw the straw in place, so create, and we're actually going to use that line right there. Now, we do it in side view, select line, and we're going to draw a straw that's resting there, coming up over the edge. We just imagine a bit of thickness to the straw, which we'll put on soon. We can adjust everything later. And then coming around in a curve out this way. Now, I'm not going to complete this line. We completed the other line, but I'm not going to complete it. I'm going to end it by right-clicking, and that just leaves all that there. I'll right-click again to drop the actual line drawing tool, and now I'm going to get to work on these vertices here. We need to right-click and convert to an editable spline. We need to work at the vertex level. And I need those vertices now to be Bezier vertices. Because 3ds makes its own interesting choices, we'll just need to adjust these to be better tangents. Until you get the look that you like. And now we're going to apply the sweep modifier. We'll deselect vertex, make sure the whole object is selected, and from the modifier list we'll get sweep. Now, sweep applies its own cross-section. We can apply our own shape if we want to, but we don't need to. Let's pull down this list for the different cross-sections, and obviously the pipe is the best one for a straw, so we'll select that. And we might just have a look in perspective to see how this is looking right now. And there may be some aspects of this which we're not happy with yet. Actually, the default seems to be quite nice. It's sitting away from the cup lip, so we need to fix that up. Now, how can we do some adjustments in the positioning? Well, we could simply move the whole thing. That would be quite straightforward until it looks convincing. Alternatively, as we saw with lathe, we can come back down in the stack, click on line, and we could edit the individual vertices and move those around if we wanted to. For instance, if we want the tip to droop a bit, that's fine, we can do that. And the sweep will work exactly the way we want it to. I'm going to leave that there, come back down here, and because we're not actually handling materials at this stage, I'm going to leave that as the completed exercise. A lathed glass or mug with a drinking straw using the sweep modifier.